Check. Hello, lurkers. We have 2.5 minutes left. We have 1.5 minutes left. 1.5 minutes. Check. Let's play it again. About a minute and we'll get going. About a half minute and we'll get started.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Epistemology for Fun and Profit, where glue meets goo, exclusively on Foxhole.app.
There we go. I messed that up. All right, let's go to... All right. Man, there's always so much you can mess up. I am G. Ross. And tonight we're simulcast on Facebook, YouTube, DLive, and the Foxhole. Why? Just so I can increase my chances of getting kicked off of YouTube and Facebook, I guess. Who knows? On Fridays, our Bread Pill Weekly will be joined by co-host Angular, typically. But this is epistemology for fun and profit, where woo meets goo. You're in the woo, and the woo is in you. Let's turn that background music down just a bit. All right. Let's check the show notes. This is episode 13, May 1. May 1. Last week we covered The Nutcracker at 1986. The week before, Mary Poppins, Dune, St. Christopher. We've talked about a little bit of Star Trek, 32 Bruces, had a few guests, etc. in the past. Thought I would start tonight's show with a song that you've probably almost certainly never heard before. But I'll wait a little bit on that song as people trickle in. Tonight's episode of Epistemology for Fun and Profit, where woo meets goo. Remember, the only rules for epistemology is how do we know what we know? Anything goes, right? That's the guideline for the show topic, basically. And I don't know if I've ever answered the question of how do we know what we know, but that's epistemology. All right, let me go ahead and play this song. Let me turn the background music for a second. Check out this song. Let's see. We'll stay on this screen. All right. I'm going to play this song for you. Why isn't it playing?
Put the up to the down, put the drawings on the fridge, put the scary wolf out, leave a place for the pigs, have a beer for the fallen, have a care for the calling, have a house made of paper, have a car made of oil. There's no sport in tornadoes, no use in the spoiling refuse.
Why did that do that? Why on earth? What's going on?
My brothers are users, abusers and choosers. The nuclear man couldn't get us to do it. Maybe he was nuts. The 40-year plan. It's a ban or a ban. I missed it, or misfits with a Midas touch. A magnet can't help it, and neither a dodo. The lady is hot now.
What is going on?
It can't help it. Magnet can't help it. A magnet can't help it. A can off the shelf, and we know
So I apologize for the cutout audio that happened a couple times there. Not sure why. That was a song called Magnet that a friend and I put down on a demo probably about 13, 14, 15 years ago. Anyway, vaguely related to the circus. I might explain more in a bit. But tonight's episode is about the circus, and I can tell you why I played that song in a little bit. So we're looking at, bread and circuses is really what I kind of wanted to start with. So let's go to there. Let's see, bread and circuses. Because, I mean, we're being fed bread and circuses, right? It's not too hard to figure out where that comes from. So, did you know the word metonymic? Metonymy is a figure of speech in which the thing or the concept is referred to by the name of something closely associated with that thing or concept. So that's pretty powerful. And look at their example that they give in Wikipedia, the Pentagon. So, the U.S. military-industrial complex uses a metonymy of the Pentagon or the pentagram. So, they're basically telling you that we're built to be programmed by language and that they're using language to control us. I'm just saying. Oh, gee, Ross, you're so crazy conspiratorial. Yes, I am. So, this is a metonymy for, let's see, does it say? Food and entertainment, right? Bread and circus. Cheap-ass food and cheap-ass entertainment. Although, I'm not going to diss on the circus tonight. I am a little, but I'm also going to praise the circus. So, here in the example on Wikipedia, I think it says this. It implies a population's erosion or ignorance of civic duty. See, doesn't that say that? Erosion or ignorance. See, okay, so juvenile, some Roman dude. I feel like Bill and Ted, right? Hey, Roman dude. Socrates. So some guy named Juvenal, we should just know that it's a joke just from the name. But he's saying, it's your fault you guys need bread and circuses because you have no civic duty. Like, that just sounds like the cabal, doesn't it? So we're studying bread and circuses tonight, mostly circuses. I guess bread will have to be another show. I don't plan it, but real quickly, getting into bread, I want to show you kushri. We're going to touch on bread just for a second. You stupid common people, you are only good for bread and circuses. And I'm already tired of that background music. It was fun, right, for a minute, but let's get the regular spooky epistemology music going for our bread and circuses episode. Now I feel like I'm at home. Asshead says, most are surprised I don't watch sports these days. Hey, how about that sports event that happened? You know, even that's become like a meme or a trope, right? You know, when your local sports team is down 43 points, you know, it's like, yeah, I mean, I held on to the NFL for so long. Just held on, right? Because it's addictive, right? You get, I don't know. Yeah. So, like usual, I took a nap right before the show, so I'm a little groggy. I'm like, let me have a sip of liminated carbonated water. Hold on. That'll wake me up. Yesterday, my kiddo and I, we were highly active for 4 hours. We do this every 6 months. I don't want to brag, but we were in a karate test, and wow, at my age, I am tired. I also had a few brewskis afterwards, so that helped me to be tired today. But anyway, yeah, asshead, I just have to agree. You know, like, how come you're not watching the sports? You know, I would like to be in a world where... What was that horrible noise? I don't know. Anyway. So, a little note about bread. Let me just check my notes so I tell this story close to what I meant to tell. My wife and I flew to Cairo, Egypt. Is my wife there? No, she went to Morocco. She did not go to Egypt. Man, I'm getting old. I flew to Cairo, 2003, so 19 years ago. About 19 years ago, flew to Cairo. And we get there, we're tired, we're jet lagged, but we're going to go out for dinner because you land at 2 or 3, or you get kind of where you're going at 2 or 3, let's say. So you can get a cab, but our friend who's living there for, he was going to be there for a few months. He was already kind of established, and so we walk, and we're walking, and we're walking, and we're walking. He's like, I have fallen in love with kushari. You must try this kushari. So we finally get a hold of some kushari. And, he told us it's like peasant food, like a lot of good... DC Panic 17 says, I had a Kempo school during Obama. Nice. So, that's a good form of prepping, right? Man, we probably should talk about martial art training time to time. I've dabbled. This is going to sound like... The more you learn, the more you kind of feel... I don't know. I feel like I become more all thumbs than less the more I learn. But I've dabbled with some Krav and some Taekwondo and some karate and some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And, it's all good training. And then you have to think about it from a self-defense perspective. And that's a good form of prepping. But it's also a way of life, right? It's not just only... Anyway, yeah. So that's awesome, DC Panic 17. So we're walking, and our friend is like, yeah, no, this is like a delicacy around here. It used to be peasant food, and, like borscht for the Russians, or I guess a tortilla and some beans and rice for maybe inexpensive Mexican food like what we have around here. So we get to the kushari, and it's just all carbs. I didn't know about that 19 years ago, but I actually kind of knew to balance out your carbs and your fat and your proteins. But we get this very salty MSG kind of dish, and everyone walking back was so dehydrated and had this headache. And it's I'm thinking, yeah, Pharaoh wants you to eat kushari. He doesn't want you to eat the awesome cow. He wants you to eat, I will throw you some grain or some cheap-ass bread. I think bread can be very good, but we get cheap-ass bread these days, right? I have a friend who's learning about food, and he's like, did you know that there's genetically modified bread? That's the only kind you can find in the grocery store. I'm making my own bread. And I'm like, yeah, that's what you should do. Make your own bread. But, look at where you're getting the grain from, right? But anyway, so just a little note about bread. Because now I want to move on to circuses. On our bread and circuses evening. Mostly circus. Let's see, where'd my link go? copy URL. I hope we have fun tonight. You never know, right? So the circus. One of the things I noticed in this article, Wikipedia, as it looked April 23rd when I first looked, and it still looks today, is they're attacking the circus, saying it's animal cruelty. Let me provoke you. Let me provoke us. How do we know that circuses are cruel to animals? I must confess. Let's just simplify it. I come to a lot of things from my background, which is very just watching Gunsmoke and John Wayne movies with my uncle, right? Or my grandparents, or my parents, just classic, conservative, rural America, born in 68. I'm going to knee-jerk against people who are like, we should shut down SeaWorld. It's making the animals have bent-up fins. I'm going to say, yeah. There's something to that. But the opposite error, to say, oh, you should never, ever, ever, ever. Should you never throw scraps to a dog and then it becomes loyal and follows you? That's ridiculous, right? So to completely shut down Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey a couple years ago, that was depressing. That was a time in my life that was depressing. But more about that as we get to it. But here's what I'm thinking in this article. They're like, you commoners with your circus, you're so mean to animals, you horrible commoners. This is projection, right? They give us bread in circuses. Who are they, G. Ross? Well, the Draconians. Are you saying that there's space aliens from the constellation Draco who come? Yes. But I'm not really saying that. My own guess, my best guess, gun to head, stuck on a game show. I can't believe I'm going to. So I'm on Facebook and YouTube tonight. I just decided to open it up. And so if I'm not shadow banned or banned by now, of course I am. But, gun to head, game show, win $1,000, answer this right. I'm saying yes, they're draconians, but what they really are is dimensional demons. That's really what they are. The controllers, the Pacers, the Pindar, the Rosicrucians, the Templars, whatever. Not every Templar that ever existed was pure evil, right? I'm not saying that. That would be foolish. But what every junior high kid comes to know, especially boys, but maybe girls do too. Houdini, the pyramids, J.P. Morgan Chase sinking the Titanic with their enemies on it. It's all true. Everything you kind of vaguely suspect is all true. But not everything, right? It's this weird amalgamation that you have to slowly put together. And you might put it together slightly wrong. But anyway, so the controllers, whoever they are, the Queen of England, the head of the British Empire, I mispronounced that on purpose. They foisted the circus on us. They told us as much themselves with that last link we were on, Juvenus or whatever. He's like, the people just need bread and circuses because they're so stupid and they don't care about. We have noblesse oblige. We must take care of these creatures. So this is projection. It's a fractal. It's inception. It's a world within a world. They're like, you stupid humans want to keep stupid animals in a show for your own stupid entertainment. And now they take it away. They get us? All right, fine. This is my experience with the circus. I was like, it's got to be boring. I saw like a one-ring circus in a Walmart parking lot when I was 12 in rural East Texas in the late 70s, early 80s, let's say. And I was like, it's a lot of work to watch a circus. It's smelly. You know, you get over-expensive popcorn, and it's loud, and it's kind of good. But then, like 30 years later, my friend, I'm going to have to talk about my friend as we go. He's always inviting me to Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey every time they come to town. Finally, I mean, we're talking about like a religious pursuit this guy had to get me to the circus. So I finally make it to the circus. And what I saw, my memory of that first time, was almost no story, but entirely spectacle. But I went through such emotions. Delight, fear for the trapeze artists. You know, usually there was a net, but I mean, man, these people are risking it. If you fall out from that high, I mean, there's nets. I don't think most states in the U.S. wouldn't sanction an event with no net these days. But the 8 motorcyclists in the tiny dome all going upside down, I think they've gotten up to 8, maybe more. That's pretty death-defying. You're going to get mangled, like 8 people. 6 or 7 of the 8 people are going to get mangled if anything goes wrong there. But I just remember walking away feeling like, man, I had delight. You know, you could even argue joy, just strong emotions, because the music, the lights, the MC. MC is a huge part of the circus. The head clown and the MC and any clown are a huge part of a proper Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey circus, and the lion tamer or the tiger trainer, depending on whether you get the red or the blue and what they're doing. But all that's gone now. It's gone. So you get used to the circus, and you're like, all right, fine, I'll go to it. Hey, this is kind of cool. And then you decide to like it, and you make it a thing, and you introduce your child to it, and he becomes a circus connoisseur, and gone. You're so cruel to animals. And look at this. Like, they're just trying to propagandize us here. You're so cruel to animals. I'll talk about that a little in a minute. We met the animals. We got to go backstage. We knew somebody. We knew somebody important. Anyway, let me just kind of go around the horn, see how the lurkery is. We kind of settled in, so I can kind of tell that not everyone's into the circus or this topic, but some are. So that's interesting. We'll see. Let's check and see if any... Okay, all right. Oh. What a bummer. I'm not recording. Interesting. Bear with me. I must delete a lot of stuff real quick. I'll do this super fast. That's that sound from a while back. But I think we're still streaming. Nice error handling Restream and IO and or OBS. Restream and OBS. Well done. Or OBS. Nice. Nicely done. Okay. All right. A little bump in the road, but we're back. We're back. That's awesome. All right. So where was I? Let's consult the notes. DC Panic 17 says, I love it and I feel ya. Yeah. I mean, it's the Overton window, right? You know, Glenn Beck, just a side note, he introduces us or reintroduces us some years back to the Overton window. I have sometimes thought, man, Glenn Beck, you're a master mind controller because you're just making us feel despair. Like, yeah, DC Panic 17, thank you for that note. We're 5x5 on the stream. We're actually streaming. You didn't say 5x5, but that's how I took it. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I filled up a drive. Noob, right? Noob. Check the drive. Check the drive space. So, yeah, I just deleted a bunch of stuff that I knew was extra. So, tonight's topic is bread and circuses. We've talked a little bit about bread because I really want to talk about circus. Why? Just because it's been on my mind, right? I took notes some long while back about potential topics, and I was like, let's talk about circus. So let me read to you from this article. Let's see. Yeah. A company of performers who put on diverse entertainment shows that may include clowns, acrobats, trained animals, trapeze acts, musicians, dancers, hoopers, tightrope walkers, jugglers, magicians, ventriloquists, and unicyclists, as well as other object manipulation and stunt-oriented artists. The term circus also describes the performance, which has followed various formats through its 250-year modern history. Although not the inventor of the medium, Philip Astley is credited as the father of the modern circus. In 1768, Astley, a skilled equestrian, so they finally mention animals that deep in after their little warning that says, you better not have animals in your circus. Yeah, here in my notes is when I say to talk about. So the reason we went backstage in the circus it was like 2003, I think, or 4. The first time I went to the circus. Got to go to Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey in Madison Square Garden, which is a great place to see the circus. In the last 20 years, I've seen a lot of circuses, both in Dallas and New York, and in little parking lots and in little places and big. 1 ring, 2 ring, 3 ring. Madison Square Garden, Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. It doesn't really get much better than that. That's like, you got these traveling gypsies essentially. We'll talk about that in a second. Come into the biggest city, the Big Apple, right? There's also a Big Apple circus, and that circus is pretty good, or at least it was when I used to go to it. So when my friend and his brother ran away to join the circus. Now, they had their parents' permission, but they went to clown college. Yes, there is a clown college, and they became the youngest ever fully salaried traveling Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey clowns. I was in a band that one of those brothers ran for years called Circus Guy, and that was that song I played at the top that I accidentally muted twice. Don't know how that happened. That band was a later iteration of Circus Guy. You can hear the similar name, Circus Guy, Circus Guy. They changed the name slightly when the personnel of the band changed. It was about a 50% shift when I came on, and so they changed the name to kind of reflect that shift. They wanted to keep Circus Guy more as the original combo. So I played in Circus Guy for a little bit, and then Circus Guy. Circus Guy happens to be an old Monkees song, if you recognize that. But before I joined, Circus Guy did open for David Bowie once during, I forget which tour. So I have been in a band that did open for David Bowie, but I wasn't at that show. I was at the next couple shows later. They took a few years off, like 2 years off or something, and then reformed. Anyway, that's a little side note going back. I'm slowly dropping hints about G-Ross over the months. If you collect them up, man, we all have stuff. We all have stuff we've done. We're going into this pinch point in time. I mean, we're on the timeline, right? I was listening in. I forget which show it was, but the call-ins and the guests and everybody were like, it is on. Oh yeah, the Trump rally today. It was true. I was listening to Thomas's True Reporting, TRU reporting, and he and his guests, and they've learned not to be date setters like we've all learned, but they're like, it is on, right? Trump is on offense. If you saw the Nebraska rally today, I saw parts of it. Let me check the chat and see if yep, we're good. I'm not triggering anyone to say no yet or complain. By the way, discussions, if I ever say anything that's so off base, I know you'll check me on it right away. So anyway, we've got a few more people walking in. Let me just point out, we are on epistemology for fun and profit. Tonight's episode is Mostly circuses, but bread and circuses. And I might dive into a little treat at the end that I hope you'll like. We'll see. All right, so let me go back to my notes. Or as I like to say, the task at hand. Let's show a picture of Madison Square Garden. So, this is the back of my kiddo's head. This kid is, you've seen him, he's Angular on the Friday 5:30 news roundup that we do weekly. He's the co-host of Angular. He's looking at Madison Square Garden there. This kid got just a great chance to go visit New York when he was like 3.5 or 4. And again, a couple times when he was 5, and again when he was 7. It's been a while. We haven't taken him there for like 4 or 5 years. Just lazy, expensive, pandemic, whatever, fake scamdemic. But how cool is it that this guy's gotten to see New York a lot? We got to get him back there. I haven't been to New York since the craziness. I hope it's doing okay. I've got family there, and they say it's rough, or it was rough. I haven't checked in with them in a little while. I've stopped looking at Facebook, which is, well, you know how that goes. But anyway, Madison Square Garden. Look at this thing. It's not a square. Oh, it is a square. See, it goes across, down, over, and up. So from the side, a cylinder looks like a square. So it's from the top, it's this, but from the side, it's this. So it is a square. And a lot of times, WWE will meet in there where they square the circle, or the squared circle. So wrestling being inside a squared circle, and it itself having the squared circle. Kind of interesting. Something going on there. Not sure what. Sloaney says, boink. Right back at you, Sloaney. So before Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey was shut down, this is from Dallas. This was like a carnival theme, I want to say, which is kind of weird, you know. They do themes to the circus, and that was kind of, I guess it was carnival. I don't remember, but this is before the circus, where you can go down and meet the clowns, and we would do this a lot with Angular when he was 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's something that happened when the circus started. I'll tell you when we get to it. But you can go down and meet the clowns directly. And we didn't know that for the longest time. But then we started to go, oh, you can go down. So we'd get there like 45 minutes early. And up until about 15 minutes before showtime, there's a boatload of clowns out there and exhibits and stuff. And so it's part of the tradition in the circus. You may not know this. Let's see if this article talks about, let me go back to, I shouldn't have got rid of it. Let's go back to that wiki link. Oh no, let's see, we got to go to, where is the link about, let's see. Let's go to Ringling Brothers link. Let's just do this. No. Ringling Bros, come on. Try to go down to the note about the red and the blue. So, learned after a while that the circus comes in 2 chunks, really 3. So, it takes 2 years to fully tour the whole United States. So if you join the circus, you're on a 2-year cycle to get back around. And so there's 2 units, red and blue. So if you watch the circus, every time it comes to your town, you're going to see 2 different head clowns alternating, right? And we were such connoisseurs that we really got to know both in terms of as viewers. And I liked both. They were great. And then there was a gold tour that was a non-train one. I think it mentions it here. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, gold. It was a scaled back single ring. Although I think one time it came around with 3 rings to American Airlines arena. I could be wrong. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe we just went to... Yeah, because I never saw a single ring. But anyway... You know, I never did this, but when the circus comes to town, evidently it's supposed to be kind of fun. And in New York, they would come in through the... I want to say Lincoln Tunnel, and you could go watch at a certain point, I think. But we never did that, but I heard about it. So, let's see. We're going to get to some interesting stuff, I promise. Oh, yeah, this is interesting. Let's see. The way this article describes it, and this kind of caught my eye. You'll see patterns like this. Okay, the history of the circus. Let's see if this is where I saw this. No, okay. I think this is in... Okay, so we got to go to Circus Wiki. Because Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey is distinctly American, right? But circus as a concept. So, let's go to history. You're already sensing what we're going to see, I promise. Because you've been activated, right? Like, you saw what BS 9/11 was. You may have been even... You remember those mimeographed copies of "Watch out for Procter & Gamble, they're satanic. Beware rock and roll music, it's mind control." Which, by the way, I love rock and roll, but it is mind control, just saying. You know, your parents may have had moments where they researched this stuff. Mine did. And then they would kind of go, oh, and kind of would fall off. It'd be like a fad. So you might be awake from... we know people on the Foxhole, for example, they've been awake for decades, right? They're just waiting for the rest of us to catch up, watching chemtrails for 20, 30 years, right? However long it's been. But maybe 9/11, 2001, September 11th, stirred you awake. But you start to see these patterns. Watch this. This is Wikipedia. A history of the circus. So they've already described what it is briefly. It's a well-written article. Etymology, the hoop, the ring, Helios, the sun god. So, the origin, ancient Rome, the hippodrome, right? So you're learning about the history of the circus. Born in Rome. Rome. Circus Maximus. Rome. British. So it's like, the history of the circus is Rome, Britain. You know, it's like, when did you, do you even remember when you realized, I went to England several times, and one of the times I took a little bit of a tour, and they're like, look, here's this little crumbling, chunk of wall. We believe that's, and I think they're right. That's part of the old Roman, city wall. So if Rome can colonize all the way out to England, and English versus British, we've kind of talked about it, and nomenclature will offend everyone, right? But that was kind of the edge of the infiltration of Rome out that far. But now modern day Kabbalistic controllers, it's the City of London, the Vatican, and Washington, D.C., right? The three power centers. So the point is the circus's history is Rome, ancient Rome, England. It's just, I was like, okay, that's hilarious. They're not even, anyway, I don't know if the point is kind of, DC Panic 17 started with, it's Roman, isn't? Yep. Yeah, you're straight up right. Yeah, like Rome, which is basically Babylon, right? So, all right. That was kind of a point I wanted to touch. So, okay. I mentioned that we went backstage and we got to see the animals. And, the animals, trainers were living, like the elephant persons were living with the elephants. Not exactly, I think they had their own, but they were hanging out. And Madison Square Garden has a lot of room back in the tunnels and in all the different things. You see it on WWE all the time because they run back in the back. There's halls after halls after halls. There's large areas where they can hang out. And the animals were just chilling. Plenty of room, hanging out with their people, just kind of mixing it up. I mean, they weren't free roaming. The lions and tigers and stuff obviously couldn't be just free roaming. They'd eat children. But the animals seemed like, I've seen like petting zoos where the animals don't look content, some where they do, or a weird outpost where you can ride a camel for $1 or whatever. In any rural section of almost anywhere. I've seen it in the Middle East, over here in the United States. Like, you can tell when an animal is bumming, right? They were in a good mood, at least the time we went and saw them. The little doggies and the elephants and whatever else. So here, let's read this. I'm going to get controversial for a second, because do you ever kind of feel like you're being told, you must worship the trees and animals like we, your Bohemian Grove masters, do. We worship the green man, which is another word for Satan, right? We worship Pan, the god Pan. Looks like a horned man with hooves, walking around with leaves all over him, or whatever. The Jolly Green Giant, or the food one, the Green Giant, the food named Green Giant. But here, let's find this. If you subscribe to the Bible like I do, and if you don't, let's talk about that, because you might. Whoever is righteous has regard for the life of his beast, but the mercy of the wicked is cruel. So this is just one of many examples where you can see whoever's righteous has regard for the life of his beast, or read that. A righteous person has regard for the life of his animal. So you're allowed to direct the life of a domesticated animal, but you're supposed to be chill. You're supposed to be real nice. You're supposed to love the animal. Like, I have a pet dog. We have a great time. And I don't know if the dog thinks of us as its boss, but anyway. DC Panic 17 says, Nero let the toothless lions loose on dinner guests to watch them run just to laugh. Yeah, Nero's a fascinating, kind of horrible dude. At least the way history gets passed to us. Here's in the Bible where we're first told about our dominion. Let's look at verse 26. Then God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and the birds of the heavens and over the livestock and over all the earth and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So we're not supposed to be cruel and horrible. We're not supposed to use rabbits to test cosmetics over and over again. We're not supposed to be like so-called Dr. Faustus and put fleas in the eyeballs of puppies and cut their vocal cords so they can't bark and let them get infested, right? We're not supposed to do that. Evil Dr. Hangenstein. Is he in Gitmo yet? I hope so. So, I think I put this together about 2-3 weeks ago. I was thinking, our keepers want us to keep mining. I get deep into the, what are we doing here, right? Inky and Enlil have us mining gold for them or whatever. You've heard the theories. Or Loosh, we're a Loosh source. We're batteries like in the Matrix. And they're hitting us with their guilt and projection like I mentioned earlier and just yanking us back and forth. The pure emotion of watching a lion tamer put his head in a lion's mouth, which I've seen a few times, from fairly up close. Like, we sometimes get pretty good seats when we've gone, 3 or 4 rows back. And so you're about, 60 yards away from the middle ring, maybe less. I feel like I've seen it pretty up close. Maybe less, maybe 30, 40 yards. But they give and they take. And then the circus is coming back. We'll talk about that in a second. they'll tell both lies. Like, you need the circus. You're evil. You're shutting down the circus. They'll just yank it back and forth. I mentioned that earlier, but that was in my notes at this point. There's a possible relaunch. Let's go back to the Ringling Brother. Man, I'm doing this. I should have reviewed my notes. They're like a couple weeks old. Check this out. It says right here, possible relaunch without animals in 2023. It's not a circus without animals, but I'm probably going to go to it, which is horrible because I'm going to... on October 21, about half a year ago, Feld and Juliette Grossman, talk more about them later, announced that it will be relaunched in 2023 without animal performances. Let's look at Lion Tamer. Oh, is this my photo? Ooh, maybe I got a good photo of Lion Tamer. Yeah, look at that. It's got him jumping through hoops. They're in charge. That's a tiger, I think. This is my old camera, not so good back then. That's like a legal... All right, so here's this version. And I mean, that cage is for our safety, right? You don't want that thing running loose. Here's a modern day. This was like a month ago I took this picture. 2 elephants. This is a legal menagerie. And it seems pretty nice. It's got huge... It's expensive to get here. So this is Disney World. You have to pay... To have a reasonable experience, you're going to pay $400 a night for your hotel. You're going to pay $150 or $100 for your park hopper that day. You're going to wait 2 hours in line or burn one of your $15 upsells or one of your few chances to get a thing. And then you're going to still wait for a half hour, and you're going to have to get there when you say it's a big commit, and you're going to fly and drive to this place. It's a big commit, but this is maybe a more humane way to treat these elephants. I'm not saying just elephants. This is just one of the pictures I wanted to show. But this is about a month ago at the safari, whatever it's called, the wildlife safari ride in Disney World. Disney is pure evil. Let me just get that out right now. I went last month. I'm going next month. And it's a long trip for me because I'm coming from Texas. So I know. Know thine enemy. Can I use that excuse? I can't help it. I still go. And I know they kidnap and torture and kill children. I get it. I should not go. It's evil. I'm just doing research. I'm a spy. I'm a spy. Let me check and see if I triggered anything. No, I didn't trigger anyone, at least not to the chat level. For the couple that looks like they've wandered in, our show on Sunday nights is called Epistemology. How do we know what we know? And we're covering Circus, mostly Circus. Pros and cons, just kind of walking through it. I think we can stand. Can we stand? Let's go. Let's see. Let me go. Let's play the creepy circus music for a second. Because I've been playing the standard background for the show. This will get annoying after a second, but I think it's nice to spice it in a little bit. All right, so what's next in my notes? If I haven't said it enough, you all are a ton of fun. I look forward to these 3 shows per week. One of the biggest highlights of my week is the Friday, the Sunday, and the Wednesday shows. I love hanging out in Foxhole every chance I get. That's the other highlight of my day, is just when can I get to the Foxhole? Not too far from where I live is a large cat refuge. So what happens here is, and this is coffee. That's not tiger blood. This right here is coffee. So they learn. So what happens is people around the area or even far away, like I don't know how wide of a range they use, but there's cat sanctuaries. So people think it'd be fun to get a lion or a tiger or something as a pet. It doesn't work out, and this poor animal now has to be taken care of. So out near where I live, about an hour's drive, is a cat sanctuary, and I believe them. They let you come see this. They essentially give the large cats as much love and care as they can muster. They're charity funded, and they learn each cat's favorite smells. And there's smelling hour. Some like lamb pee. They like to smell, like sheep pee or goat pee. And so they'll like soak rags in goat pee and let the lions tear it up. Some like pizza boxes. Some like coffee, bags that had coffee beans in them. Some like actually just coffee, like soaked in a rag or whatever on cardboard or something. I think they usually do cardboard so they can chew it, not rags. But it was fun. And just knowing that there's, we have to be responsible. All right, so kind of random, but Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, their tagline is the greatest show on earth. Well, what are we watching? We're watching a show. So what's the greatest show on earth? Is it really Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey? Or are we the greatest show on earth? Let's see. This is kind of random, but I do think it's important to point out. If you watch enough really, really top-level circuses, you'll see that really the spotlight guy is one of the most important producers, because if the elephant takes a giant dump, nobody wants to be seeing that. So the spotlight will quickly go to, they're so well-trained. The circus is Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey is a well-practiced, well-oiled machine. The lighting people will immediately go to, something in the main ring, but not the animal that just took a giant dump. And the circus hands will come up with this big old shovel and trash can, big old 50-gallon trash barrel. You can't hardly see it. You have to look for it in the shadows. It's pretty effective. And then they'll throw a little sand on there or a little sawdust or whatever. Sometimes, depending on what's going on. Let's see. There is, and I don't have a picture for this. Maybe I can find a picture since I'm going to mention it. Let's see. Disney Circus. I think Land has one too. I've been so Disney World focused lately. But yeah, there's a fairly sizable circus area. This picture doesn't really do it justice, but whatever. Fairly sizable circus area in Disney World. Just to kind of point that out. It's not a true circus, but it's a circus-themed entertainment area. It's got the Dumbo ride and Goofy's acrobatic airplane escape ride of some sort. It's got another ride. Does it have another ride? You'd think it would. I can't remember. So, if you're the controllers and you've got this big footprint of a circus area in your amusement park, are you really going to say circuses are evil? So I think it's coming back. It's just the animal part that they don't like. I don't know. So let's look at Cirque Du Soleil. I didn't want to spend a boatload of time on this. I've never really gotten into Cirque Du Soleil. So I may be about to trigger some people. But, so does your Illuminati training kick in? You got northeast, west, south. You've got the 8 cardinal directions, so you can break the 8 just with one symbol. Looks like Pedo Island, the top-down aerial view of Epstein Island. It's sun worship. It's the Cirque du Soleil, the sun circus. Going kind of back to some of the original roots we read in the article about the Roman origins. But anyway, a couple more people have been trickling in. We're doing Sunday nights, epistemology, covering the circus. How do we know what we know about the circus? I've seen Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey several times myself, gone to it in both Dallas and in New York. So I'm an eyewitness for some of this. But the Cirque du Soleil, let's talk about that. kind of down on Cirque du Soleil. I don't know why. I've never really gotten into it or cared or noticed or anything about it. But I thought, well, I got to look into it a little bit if I'm going to mention it, if I'm going to talk about Circus. So let me just read you some names of their shows. This is just on the Wikipedia entry, so there's nothing crazy here. Le Grand Tour de Cirque du Soleil. That was the first one, I think, if I'm reading this right. Cirque du Soleil. Le Magie Continue. I don't speak French, or I don't speak Canadian French. I think that means the magic continues. I could be wrong. Les Cirques Reinventés. That means Circus Reinvented. Who wants to reinvent the circus? It's perfect as it is. It's like they had a plan. Because that was like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Nouvelle Experience. New experience, right? Saltimbanco. Sounds like saltimbocco, right? Like a Italian dish. I don't know what that means. Fascination. Mystère. Like mystery. Alegria. Happiness, right? Quidam. Don't know what that means. O. Did they show their O face during that? Don't know. La Nube. Don't know what that means. Dralion. Varakai. Zumanity. That sounds kind of odd, doesn't it? Ka. Corteo. These are names of the Cirque du Soleil. Delirium. I could buy into that. I imagine you could get a little mind controlled watching some good Cirque du Soleil. The Beatles' Love. Now that's a big jam right there. The Beatles to license into that? That's not trivial. You're in some fine upper echelons if you get a license like that. I never saw it, but Kuza, Wintook, Zaya, sounds kind of like Gaia or something. Zed, so Z. Chris Angel Believe. Man, Chris Angel, that guy, mind freak he calls himself. That's a stage magician right there, right? Ovo, sounds like ovaries or something. I don't know what. Banana Spiel. It's funny that right after Ovo, their next tour was Banana Spiel. Viva Elvis. Totem. Zarkana. Iris. Right. Michael Jackson, The Immortal World Tour. Amaluna. The band I mentioned earlier, Circus Guy, has a song called Lovely Luna, which is about a trapeze artist. So anyway, they have a show. Cirque du Soleil has Amaluna. Michael Jackson 1. There's only like 10 more. I'll hurry through this. Curio's Cabinet of Curiosities. Joya. Torek, The First Flight. Paramore. Luzia. Septimo Dia No Descansare. I don't know. Last Day Don't Cry. I don't know. Volta. Crystal. Bazaar. Allegria in a New Light. X, The Land of Fantasy. Axel. Mezzitin. Are You In? 'Twas the Night Before. Drawn to Life. And Mad Apple. I just sense so much Illuminati in that. I'm not going to prove any of that. I just wanted to read through those. I've probably put most of you into an MK Ultra trance just reading the names of the Cirque du Soleils. I'm probably mind controlled right now just from having done that. Right now, you could probably create a new altar in my mind. Let me check the chats. Little trumpet there. Sloaney, is it time? Let's give that music a break. Let me start the regular. Yeah, I can only take so much of that. It's like I just dug it up real quick for purposes. So we're about to take kind of a hard left turn, but we're going to stick with the topic, if that makes any sense. We've lost one lurker. That was probably a long, boring list I read, right? That's on me. That's on me. That's not on you. Checking for comments in Facebook or chats. All right. So why did I just cover that? Because we're about to jump into kind of the second half of tonight's show. So that's been an hour. I'm going to spend about a half hour on this other thing, which is kind of related. But first, let me just conclude that the circus is spectacle. It's not pure evil. Oh, I left something out. Hold on, my notes. Why did my notes not have... no. We're not at the end. I missed... we'll get there. So my wife suggested Roncalli. There's a German group, German Virtual Circus. Roncalli. Yeah, using holograms instead of live animal performers. How weird. Let's take a look. That was loud. I'll mute it so we'll just see the visuals. Let's get in here and see. Interesting. So is that really... That looks kind of cool. I don't think I would pay. But anyway, okay, so people are doing all that. Thanks to co-producer wife. So before I kind of do the conclusion of the circus and go to the next thing, what do you run away enjoying? What does that remind you of, right? Like people just casually say, oh, you're going to run away and join the circus. What would you be joining? What would be the life of being? I know a couple people who toured with the circus. It's going to probably be a lot like being on a long movie that took a year or two to make, right? Principal photography took maybe a year. You're going to become super best friends with those people, and then you're going to never see them again, right? You are a gypsy. Whatever a gypsy is, I think the modern-day gypsy would be a circus performer. So let's look at gypsies just for a second, because this is what I really kind of wanted to tie in. I'm like, what is a gypsy? Because I couldn't find a lot of proof that circus and gypsies go together, at least not with a half hour of digging or searching or casually searching while drinking coffee. Here's a little article about gypsies. Roma gypsies. Why are they called that? Europeans mistakenly believed they came from Egypt. Man, what does that sound like? Khazars, Azovs. Just saying, there's always this group of people that are like, no, we're not from there. We're not from ancient Babylon. I'm just saying. The origins are always so hard to pin down. I'm not saying all gypsies are bad. Stephen King wrote a book called Thinner, or a short story. That gypsy was evil. Cursed this guy just for bumping into her and saying, you stupid old witch, or whatever. Blacksmiths, cobblers, tinsmiths, horse dealers, and tool makers. Others were performers such as musicians, circus animal trainers, and dancers. So they do kind of tie into the circus, whatever gypsies are. So if you run away and join the circus, you kind of become a gypsy. Do you remember Something Wicked This Way Comes, the book or the movie? Here comes the traveling carnival. It's coming to town. And the married men are already kind of mesmerized and want to get trapped into the traveling gypsy ladies and see. I don't know if you remember that movie, but I always felt like it was creepy. It was intended to be creepy. But now let's get into the freak show. We'll get into something even weirder. Can't believe I almost left all this out. The freak show. What is the freak show? Did you ever read, what was it called? Geek Love? Man, if you want an Illuminati disclosure book, read Geek Love from Catherine Dunn. I read this thing. It's about people who intentionally make malformed children by taking all kinds of drugs while pregnant. They're circus or they're sideshow freaks, and they need lots of more freaks. So they have kids that are like 3-armed or, you know, got a giant forehead or whatever. And they love their children. You know, they take care of them. They train them how to be circus freaks. And they've got lots of didn't quite make it children in like pickle jars. Oh, we love them still. They didn't make it, but we love them. Who does that remind you of? George Bush's mom that he talked about, who kept the fetus. He's like, oh yeah, we had a fetus in the house. Just kept it in a jar. Really? There's some disclosure in this book, Geek Love, from Catherine Dunn. It's creepy. It is creepy. So anyway, the circus comes with freak shows, right? So all the normal stuff is in the three rings, but on the side is the border of human society. You can go get a hold of. And that's where wrestling made a comeback. Pro wrestling after the shame of being bought and sold and paid for, right? So now let's get into, this is maybe why I'm actually doing this episode. When we were taking our child to the circus a lot, we noticed that we didn't get enough circus. And so we started looking for local, smaller circuses. Like we used to go to the Big Apple in New York. What does the Dallas area have? Well, Dallas has a Shriner Circus. There's some peppered all around the country. So when we took our child to the Shriner Circus, and mind you, this kid knows clowns. He's not afraid of them. He likes them. So we're at the Shriner Circus, and we're down before the show, meeting the clowns like you do. And about half of the clowns, he's like, yeah, he wants to clown around with them and hop down out of my arms. He's like 3.5, 4, 5, I don't remember. And he must have been 4, because there ain't no way that 5-year-old, that's a tall kid, was going to be in my arms at 5. But so he's like, yeah, clown's nice. Maybe he was 3, I don't know. But about half the clowns, he was like, he would stiffen up and be like, no. And I was like, that's really weird. So it's time to take your seats. And all of a sudden, lights go down. Boom. Spots on the end of the auditorium off to the side. And we meet the pontiff, the grand pope, the empress, and some others. And they introduce these really old people in fezzes. And they're the Shriners. And so we're seeing a full-on like Masonic Illuminati ceremony to induct this, to bless this service. And I'm like, huh? I'm literally in a spell-casted, spell-protected giant building that's now a dangerous place to be. My discernment ears went verp. And I was like, I started praying. I'm like, Lord, if I'm supposed to get up out of here with and I had like 4 or 5 of my relatives there. I'm like, Lord, if I'm supposed to get up out of here, you just tell me we will get out of here, and I'll tell my brother, and I'll tell him why, and we're going to get out of here, and he'll, devil catch the hindmost, right? Like, you tell me what to do. And I got a sense of peace that, no, you just keep your eyes open, right? So I watched, and it was mostly a circus. But at the intermission, I whipped out the phone, and I started researching the Shriner Circus. And it had an article. I couldn't find it for tonight. This was like 8 years ago. I couldn't find the article for this, but I remember reading that the Shriners contract with traveling circuses. That's where they get all their experts. But that they love clowning, the Shriners do, and they insist on providing half of the clowns. I'm like, that's exactly the ratio of the clowns that my kid was not liking. So I'm saying the young man had some discernment and that we had a hedge of protection around us. I mean, nothing crazy happened, but anyway. Let's look at Feld entertainment. Other types of things that have struck me as kind of being circus-esque. So Feld Entertainment does Monster Jam, the internal arena show. They do motocross or supercross. They do Disney on Ice. I did not know that at first until I saw Marvel Live. We went to see one of these, and it was fantastic. It was a spectacle, and you felt like you were in the Marvel Universe, and it was Loki trying to seek out the Tesseract Cube, and it was like related to and similar to the movies that were out at the time, but it added a little to the storyline. Wasn't needed, but it was a little extra side. And we actually went and took my kiddo to this Sesame Street Live thing way back. I haven't done the Jurassic World live tour. I want to. I think COVID slowed that one down around us. I mean, you keep hearing me say, I want to go to these things. These are all illuminated, not even mind-controlled things. I totally get it. You know, be in the world but not of the world. Just spying on the enemy, but kind of liking it too. So, I tell you all this, and then I kind of was like, let me Google my first and last name and the word circus. And the first link that pops up is this song. And that's the song I played at the beginning. I think I might play it right now. It says unlimited ad. Let me mute the music and we'll just play it. I have my own copy, but let's just see what this does. So here, let me just, I'll do the whole thing. So Google, my name, Circus. First link, this is a song I wrote. Totally forgot about this. Okay, that's not an easy way to play it. I'm just going to play it for you. Permit me. I played it once at the beginning, but it muted twice because I goofed up. So let me find a way to do it better. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? Let's see, I've got it in my show notes. This is 2 minutes long. We'll treat it as kind of like a little break. I'll drink some fluids. Where did I put it? It's right up here. It's in epistemology show prep folder. Why can't I find it? Let me find it. All right, I'm gonna play it.
Put the up to the down, put the drawings on the fridge, put the scary wolf out, leave a place for the pigs, have a beer for the fallen, have a care for the calling, have a house made of paper, have a car made of oil. There's no sport in tornadoes, no use in the spoiling refuse. We hide from the devil, stuck into the carousel, at the end of the day now, and it's all that we meant well. My brothers are users, abusers and choosers. The nuclear man couldn't get us to do it, maybe he was nuts. The 40-year plan, it's a ban or a ban. I missed it, or misfits with a Midas touch. A magnet can't help it, and neither a dodo. The lady is hot now, but we aren't in a brick house. A magnet can't help it. Magnet can't help it. A magnet can't help it. A can off the shelf and we know it's a no-go. Alaska is cold and I'll ask hers to this house. Call. Ba 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 ba
So the reason I played that is just because when you Google Circus and my name, that's the link you get. And that was a song I wrote about 15 years ago, exploring gently the idea of being a little bit environmentalist. Because I was hanging around with some hardcore environmentalists. And I was like, let me walk into, because I was kind of closet anti. I'm like, I want to idle my car everywhere I go and just burn some gas, right? But I was like, let me just slowly dip into that topic. So I explored it lyrically there in that song. Doesn't really have anything to do with our topic tonight, except for the animal care part of it, maybe, right? We don't want to be cruel to animals. So anyway, back to where we were in the show notes. It's here where I want to take a 90-degree turn to the left, because I still want to keep with bread and circuses. I'd like to spend 30 to 45 minutes going through, yes, you guessed it, the Star Trek original series episode called Bread and Circuses. So the Illuminati likes to control us with bread and circuses. Let them eat cake, right? You know, we're so proud of just casually knowing that Marie Antoinette or whoever it was said, let them eat cake. And we just carry these tropes and memes forward and we help create these weird realities by saying how the past was. And then we just casually go, oh yeah, let them eat cake. We're talking about us, right? You know, we got to break out of the shell. We got to break out of the shell of knowing the shell that we're in. I don't know how to do that, but you're here to help me, right? We're here to help each other. We're breaking. You know, something about QAnon. I know. There's Q, there's the Anons, there's no QAnon. Something about Q17, the team, the White Hats, really, really took us to the next level, right? Like, in a way that we got the credit for it. Like, the Socratic method. You did the digging. You did the piecing it together. You crowdsourced. You're the ones vetting this stuff. Or is it just an amazing propaganda tool and we just fell for it all hook, line, and sinker? Probably not the latter, but you got to give it you got to check it, right? You got to check that. But anyway, so I'm just going to hard left turn and just do a coverage of, but I guess I want to draw some conclusions. The circus in and of itself has very little storyline, so I don't think it has a lot of mind control. But it has elements that can be used in entertainment-based mind control. The circus in and of itself includes some aspects of menagerie. Are all animal cages evil? I don't think I really answered that. I think I said no. Some of them were not evil. And we're just being whipped around and being told that we're evil because we're doing what they got us hooked on. What else are you going to do with animals? You're going to look at them in the wild. You're going to contemplate eating them because they're tasty, I will confess. You're going to become friends with some of them. You become friends with a dog. The dog is going to become loyal. It just is. Now you have an animal. Whether you admit it or not, that's an animal that's depending on you. I mean, yeah, it could fend for itself if you kind of domesticated a wild-ish dog, but anyway. So my conclusion is the circus is not evil, but that there's some edgy stuff you can find, like the history from Rome to England to here. So anyway, bread and circuses used to control us. Let's review. I don't know how long this will be. This is about 2.5 pages of notes, so this will probably be a half hour, maybe 45 minutes. Let's just go through Star Trek, bread and circuses. Let me read the chat. DC Panic 17 says, we're still here. And DC Panic 17 says, us Q-tards. Yeah. I'm a Q-tard. I went so deep in my own way, right? Like still am. I'm still organizing my life around. So, 17 years ago-ish, I rearranged my life in phases around the written Bible. And I'm not saying I do it perfectly. I'm saying it impacts my life. To a high degree, Q has caused me to step back and rethink priorities. Jesus in the Bible first, anything else second, right? But up there is Q, and I have got a hat tip to, was it Matrix Codebreaker? Posted a show a couple days ago. An Eric Dubé, 200 proofs that the earth is flat. Thanks for doing that. I'm not picking sides. I love my Spinning Ball Earth brothers and sisters. I love you dearly. Sloaney, I'm on the tards too. Yeah, aren't we? We're tards. We should be in the TARDIS. The Q TARDIS with Dr. Q. That's almost funny. All right. So let's go into the episode called Bread and Circuses. Now, I did an episode of Star Trek. I covered it. Paradise Syndrome. And I did a tiny little treatise on the mind control that's in Star Trek as such. So I summarized that down in my notes just real quick here. Just some highlights. Let's see what I put here. Oh, that's the actual episode. Okay. Star Trek is how they control our view of space, and Star Wars and all these science fictions. Spock is the devil. They say so in a couple episodes. More than one, I think. At least one. The inventor of Star Trek's name is Gene Roddenberry, or Gene's Roddenberry's. You can't make this stuff up. And it's known, the more you dig into it, as a tool of MKUltra. There's different style programming. There's the confusion programming like Alice in Wonderland. There's the Star Trek probing, the Star Wars programming. There's the Wizard of Oz style. And inside Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz, there's sub-styles. So you can use these tools different ways because you're mesmerizing the brain. So I've got the script. This is going to be a little faster than the run-through we did of, whatchamacallit, Paradise Syndrome. It's going to be a little faster. I've just got the script and some pictures. And I'm just going to kind of run through both in tandem and just highlight a few things about bread and circuses. There's 12 pictures. Let's see, if I go here... Let me see. If I go to here, will it let me drag it? Okay, I'll have to do it this way. All right. Doink. Doink. Where's picture number 1? Oh. Come on. Come on, man. All right, let's just duplicate and put the word 1. All right. Okay. So bread and circuses. What is this episode about? Sloaney says, Q-tard here. Bong. It's flat. All right. DC Panic 17 says, I did 22 years ago when I got sober, but Q has raised my level, it seems. Yeah, right. Q brought us together. Our heart chakras and our throat chakras can come together. You know, we can do meetups. We can talk to each other. And I stole that throat chakra, heart chakra from Black Yoda, obviously. Sloaney. It's so fun to see someone in the chat saying what I strongly, strongly feel. But to be fair, I know the foxhole has some ball earthers, as I'll call them. Open platform, no judgment here. Almost any time, maybe any time you want, unless depending on maybe who's in Discord as a guest, maybe. By the way, I didn't say this. Discord link is, let me put the Discord link. I'm terrible host. Where's my Discord link? I was supposed to put it in the chat a long time ago. It's in the Facebook and YouTube description now. I've learned to do that. That only took 3 months to learn. But let's pop this in. Sloaney, I've heard rumors that your wife says you're a conspiracy theorist. Is this true about you? When did you stop being a conspiracy theorist? Have you dropped your conspiracy theories yet, Sloaney? Just teasing. Yeah, me too. My wife is also a conspiracy theorist. I call her a conspiracy theorist. My kid's a conspiracy theorist. And I tried not to make him into one. The acorn does not fall far from the tree. Anytime anybody wants to hop in and say, oh, the chat just changed. Okay, so for YouTube and Facebook, if you're seeing this, the Discord link just expired, which kind of makes sense. But anyway, the Discord link I meant, not the chat. I would say almost without exception, if anybody wants to debate in chat or debate in Discord anytime, the insiderness of the Q posts, that's easily, you'll be gently defeated if you come in and try to debate that, right? But it should be an open invitation, and we should be gentle. Sloaney says, I think everything I've learned is wrong. That is correct. Everything. Harcourt Fenton Mud. What does he say? How can he be lying when everything he says is a lie? Please explain. What does Sloaney say? Hell no. What did I say that triggered that? I'm saying if somebody comes in and debates, the insiderness of Q posts being clearly on the inside. What the agenda of the Trump team is, but the fact that those Q posts statistically match up to comms from Trump, that's undebatable, right? But people should come in and ask questions, right? Like, we're not going to hammer you over the head and say, oh, it's so obvious. Well, we might sometimes do that, but we shouldn't do that. Same thing I would say with the realm of Earth. If you want to come in anytime and talk about the Earth moves, okay, how do you know that? You're told it moves. You're taught it moves. It doesn't move. We can talk about that. You're taught its shape. How do you know its shape? There's ways to test that. I've tested that. The historicity of Jesus Christ. The existence of God. Let's debate it all. But anyway, back to the task at hand. I'm saying open forum. So, bread and circuses. So, in the script, they say, this strangely Earth-like planet that we've just stumbled on, that we got the distress call from or whatever, we found some wreckage in the distress call we're brought to. This wreckage would have come from Planet 4 of Star System 892. 892. That's adds up to 19, reduces to 2. So, I don't know. Kirk's looking at it because they're seeing, like, televised signals, and he's like, slaves and gladiators. What are we seeing? A 20th century Rome? They're just so addicted to Rome, right? Spock is like, Captain, the one described as the barbarian is also listed here. First officer or flight officer William B. Harrison of the SS Beagle. At least there were some survivors down there. And McCoy says, okay, so they beam down, and they're beamed down out of town, and they're walking in towards civilization. And McCoy says, just once, I'd like to be able to land someplace and say, behold, I am the Archangel Gabriel. And then Spock says, I fail to see the humor in that situation, Doctor. And then McCoy says, naturally, you could hardly claim to be an angel with those pointed ears, Mr. Spock, but say you landed someplace with a pitchfork. So they're just reminding you that this character is Satan, right? And I'm not against Leonard Nimoy. He's fun to watch. Anyway, let me check my pictures. So, yeah, we'll go to picture number 2. So that's them watching the broadcast from the ship. Picture number 2, they're walking down the hills of Southern California. I mean, Earth planet like planet. And they come across this guy. This guy is from the sun worshippers. They worship the sun, right? He's got 3 links linked like a chain. This is their like prisoner garb, kind of, maybe. That's what it kind of struck me as. It almost makes a 6-6 inverted 6. Not saying, just saying, maybe. Remember, this is bread and circuses. So they're trying to program us in some way. So when we get to picture 4, I'll have more information. So let's go to picture 4. So he's holding them at gunpoint. What is this? Why is McCoy doing this? You know, he's like in the background going, huh? Right? Well, you've seen that hand signal before. I know you have. Let's take a look at the link. This is straight up. McCoy is just doing an Illuminati signal. Why? I don't know. But he has to, I guess. Or he felt compelled. Oh, come on. He just had a hand cramp. Who holds the... Oh, he's got broken finger. Whatever. I don't know what it means, but this is definitely one of their signs. It's, let's see. It's in one of these tables. Close to this one, but I think it's even in another table. I promise it's in here. That's some handshakes. It's, oh man, bad producer. Well, maybe the closest match I found was that one above. It's kind of like, where'd it go? I think there's a better chart, and I just found the wrong one. Let's see if I have another link. Ah, here we go. Oh, mini secret orders. So sign 12 is what I'm looking for. Sign 12. Ah, here we go. Mini secret. Ah, yeah. How did I miss this? Sign 12. That's the one I thought it was. That's the closest I could find. I'm not an expert on this stuff. I'm really not. Let's take a look and see how our lurkers are doing. Still pretty strong. We hit 17, dropped back to 16, but that's cool. I love when you hit 17, right? That's always fun. All right. Going back to the task at hand. Epistemology. All right, so he mentions stardate 4040.7, Planet 4, System 892. On this Earth, Rome never fell. That's quite the reveal. He straight up says, you know, when you come back from commercial, Captain Kirk's log, stardate 4040.7, Planet 4, System 892. On this Earth, Rome never fell. So they just told you on your TV, broadcast in the late 60s, to your living room, on this Earth, where you live, we're telling you, Rome never fell. The Nazis never fell. The British Empire never fell. Are you hearing this? I know you're hearing this. I got to say it again, though. Kirk says on your TV in 1969, I think it was 69, somewhere around there, on this Earth, not on this Earth, but on this Earth, like ours, in our realm, on this Earth, Rome never fell. He just says those words. I think it was on the captain's log. I don't remember. He's talking to Septimus. Anyway, let's go to picture 5. Who is Septimus? So remember, these are sun worshippers. So we go to Septimus, wearing the chain links, the 666 or whatever that is. Look at the pyramid in the background with the little eye on top. Oh, that's just art. That's just some primitive hand drawing art. No, that's a pyramid with an eye on top. Of course that's a pyramid with an eye on top. All right, so let's go to... So this is... they got taken to the leader of the sun worshippers. Check out those traps on that guy. Septimus says, because Kirk's talking about, do you have any people that like came from another world? And Septimus goes, there are no other worlds. And Kirk goes, the stars. And he goes, those are lights shining through from heaven. It is where the sun is. Blessed be the sun. And then Kirk looks at a car advertisement in a magazine they have, and it's got the Jupiter 8, conventional internal combustion engine. You were right about the smog, he says to Spock. But the Jupiter 8, Mars toothpaste, Neptune bath salts, which is funny. Septimus says, taken from the names of false gods. When I was a senator, I worshiped them too. Right? There's more senators worship false gods. Oh, he just means in the fictional pseudo-Rome that they've created in this story. No, he means senators worship false gods. He just said it. It's full disclosure. Then he says, I heard the words of the sun. I became a brother, and for that they made me a slave. And then he goes, Kirk goes, hey, we're looking for a friend, speaking of that. Do you know his name? Merrick. Captain Merrick. So they name the guy that becomes a slave to the Romans, Merrick. He's literally named Captain Merrick. Captain Merrick, as in America. And then the other brothers of the sun get all like, what? How dare you say Merrick in this cave? And Septimus is like, Merricus? And Kirk's like, yeah, he's the leader of our friends. And then they're like, he's first citizen. He's a butcher. And then they leave the room, and McCoy says, odd that these people should worship the sun. Why, Doctor? Spock says. Because, my dear Mr. Spock, it is illogical. Rome had no sun worshippers. Why should they parallel Rome in every way except one? And so this is some pretty slick storytelling in a goofy kind of way. So I was like, Rome didn't worship the sun? Let me check that. So I just did a little Googling or DuckDuckGoing. Did they really worship the sun? They did have Helios, right? Says here he's a fairly minor deity. So that sounds like all the mythology I was taught. Isn't it amazing how they teach the mythology to all junior high kids? So let's look at picture 6. Picture 6. So right as Septimus says, he's like, okay, we're going to tell you how to get to town so you can go find your evil friend Merricus. He says, may the blessings of the sun be upon you. And it cuts right to this shot of the sun. That's important in a minute. So then we see, let's look at picture 7 and picture 8. No, 7. So this is what Rome would look like today. According to Gene's Roddenberry's propaganda to teaching you how to believe in space and mind control. According to them, if Rome was still in existence in modern times, this is how they would dress. Looks just like Nazis, right? Straight up Nazis. So I thought that was interesting. And then they start showing you their journey into town. And the Spock is saying, or someone is saying, overdubbing, uniformed police like those of Earth, a great city like Rome with automobiles. So that's the picture they show. It looks to me just like Washington, D.C., right? So Flavius starts to talk to them, and he's the guy that's kind of running the show. Flavius says, long ago there were rebellions. Oh, no. This is when they're sitting in prison. So they get taken in prison. Flavius, the guy who was tour guiding them to get into town, gets captured with them. Or no, this is maybe on their way in. I forget. But at some point, yeah, he's like, didn't you rebel? And he's like, long ago there was rebellions, but they were suppressed. Listen to this carefully. And with each century, the slaves acquired more rights under the law. They received rights to medicine, the right to government payments in their old age, and they slowly learned to be content. And just in case we don't get it, Spock says even more fascinating. Slavery evolving into an institution with guaranteed medical payments, old age pensions. So they're telling us on our TV in the living room in the late 60s that Rome never fell and the rebellions were quelled with rights. Rights enshrined in a constitution? How dare I say that? And I'm not saying it's bad to have rights enshrined in a constitution that come from God. I'm okay with that as a concept. But what's that gotten us? Pretty free food for a while. Low quality food, but lots of it. Cheap until just wait around. What are we, 20% over our debt to GDP? 120%, 140%? Just inflation. About to see some hyperinflation like you had never seen in this country. Merrick says, so they finally meet Merrick. And he's gone native. He's completely caved in. He's totally captured by the current Romans on this planet. And he's like, Jim, don't you get it? There's been no war here for over 400 years, Jim. Could, let's say, your land of the same era make that same boast? I think you can see why they don't want to have their stability contaminated by dangerous ideas of other ways and other places. And Spock says, interesting, and given a conservative empire, quite understandable. So basically, Spock is saying, you neon cons may be onto something. And McCoy says, are you out your head? As I understood, Doctor. As I said I understood it, Doctor. I find the checks and balances of the civilization quite illuminating. And then McCoy says, next he'll be telling us he prefers it over Earth history. And then Spock says, they do seem to have escaped the carnage of your first 3 world wars, Doctor. They have slavery, gladiatorial games, despotism, Spock says. Situations quite familiar to the 6 million who died in your First World War. Isn't that funny that he says 6 million people died in the First World War? The 11 million who died in your second. The 37 million who died in your third. Are we going to see that? I think we've dodged World War III. I really do, brothers and sisters. I believe we have dodged World War III. Can I just say that? Can I just pause this episode and say, hallelujah? Sloaney says, sounds familiar. Right? I mean, they're just straight up telling us predictive programming. I'm in a hopeful mood right now. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's going to be hard. But we've been given a chance to spoil Albert Pike's Third World War. Or I'm being manipulated into an even more sinister system. But do we really want to send our selves or our children into a third world war? Do we really want to do that? I don't want to do that. And I know nobody here wants to do that. And they're going to try. And we're not falling for it. And they're getting more and more desperate. As Hulkinator likes to say on Table of Titans, keep that head on a swivel. Get ready. The Alsfey Agflay are coming. Sloaney, you're right. We're in World War III now. It's hot over in Ukraine, right? The bullets are flying. That's World War III. That's not the only theater in World War III. It's a spiritual war. It's an informational war. We are absolute. It's the truckers going across Canada, right? It's the biker rallies. It's all those things they don't want you to see, but that you're seeing. I don't know. I'm not trying to sound wise. I'm talking to myself. I'm figuring this out, right? Like we're figuring this out together. Anyway, Stardate 4041.2 comes later, and 0.9, I think. And Merrick says, so now they're having like yummy dinner, and they're being told, yeah, you two are going to succumb to Rome. You're going to bring your starship down. You're going to have all the people down, beam down, or whatever. And Merrick is trying to, yes, Sloaney says we're in a digital war. Ooh, let's talk about Flynn for a second. Man, I'm blowing hot and cold on him. I'm starting to get back to friendly towards Flynn. You know, he's flashing all those Mason signs. And, you know, he called us digital warriors, and man, that'll stoke the ego, won't it? I'm like, yeah, I want to be one of your digital warriors, Flynn. Sign me up. Don't follow any one man, right? Like, trust yourselves, Q says. And what he means by that is don't trust your human instinct by itself. Trust what you've learned from the Bible, from Jesus, from your brothers and sisters, from common sense, from applied proverbs from the Bible, right? Like, where do you think we get common sense, right? It's collected wisdom, and it's been preserved, and it's preserved thanks to Achaya or Yahweh or Jehovah or Adonai, whatever you want to call the Father, as long as it's a name that's respectful and accurate. So Maricus says, let me catch up on the pictures here. 9. Oh, we're jumping the gun a little. We'll wait and come back to that. So Maricus says, maybe now you understand why I gave in. The Romans have always been the strongest, and they've had practice for over 2,000 years. And then they go into the gladiator games. I didn't get a lot of photos of this. But at one point, so at one point Spock helps McCoy. And the games master says, a clear foul, proconsul. Your decision? Oh, actually, I think I got a picture of this. 10, 11. No. Okay, let's show this. So Spock escapes. This is just one of the best neck pinches I've ever seen. So look how devilish he looks. This is the evil Roman sort of main guy. This actor plays an evil guy so well. You almost like him. He's powerful. You're like, I kind of can see how Maricus fell for this guy. So here's how they do the gladiator games. So this is bred in circuses, right? This is just the TV. They're just showing you. This is Inception, right? This is your TV programming inside your TV programming, which is your bred in circuses, which is ancient Rome, and they're telling you you're still in it. You're in a matrix that's thousands of years old. If it goes back to Rome, it goes back to Babylon. If it goes back to Babylon, it goes back to Mesopotamia. It goes way before ancient Egypt, right? It goes back to just post-flood. And it's strains of what was going on pre-flood, right? I just took a picture of this lamp because I thought it was cool. I think that's all the picture. Hang on a second. Yeah. So let's go back to the games, the gladiator games. So he says, a clear foul, proconsul. Your decision? And Claudius turns to Maricus and says, your opinion, Maricus. After all, they're like yourself from outer space, right? And Merrick says, it's your decision, proconsul. So Claudius turns to Kirk and says, your opinion, Captain Kirk. And Kirk won't render an opinion. This reminds me of the Pontius Pilate decision. He hands it back over to Caiaphas and the people, right? So everybody's washing their hands, right? Well, in this case, Claudius does finally make the decision. He's going to execute Kirk. But they're in prison, and at one point, McCoy says, because they're worried about Kirk, who's busy having good times with a lady sex slave, just saying. We'll come back to that. He goes, you know why you're not afraid to die, Spock? You're more afraid of living. Each day you stay alive is just one more day you might slip and let your human half peek out. They're talking to us. They're saying, yeah, we've been feeding you Canaanite DNA. We've been injecting it in you. We plan to inject it in you. We've been feeding it to you. We think you're just beasts. Why don't you let your human half peek out? So during that, Kirk is giving in to the baser passions. And it has to be mentioned, he straight up is spending time with a Roman MK Ultra sex kitten. Just straight up. So inside the mind control, there's more mind control. It's never ending, right? It's like the movie Inception. It just keeps going and going and going. Let me check the chat. Yep. Still going strong. It's getting a little late. Some people are starting to go to sleep. 1 or 2. But that's okay. We're almost done. Where's my notes? Can't even find them. Here they are. I'm almost done. So this whole episode was kind of just one giant wordplay. The followers of the sun, the worship of the sun, blah, 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 the sun. And they're back up on the ship and they've made their escape. So all they've learned is that Rome is still alive and there's a cult of sun worshipers that don't like Rome. And Uhura says, don't you understand? I've been monitoring their comms. They're not, because they're sitting there going, man, it's so crazy that sun worshipers weren't violent. She's like, it's not the sun up in the sky. It's the Son of God. She straight up says it. And then Kirk goes, Caesar and Christ. They had them both. And the word is spreading only now. And then McCoy says, a philosophy of total love and total brotherhood. And Spock says, it will replace their imperial Rome. But it will happen in their 20th century. Well, okay, do you ever know this theory that they stole a millennium from us? 1,000 years from us? I've seen that theory. I think, Kurt Vonnegut says, I think it's Kurt Vonnegut, time happens in circles. It's a helix, right? It comes around. It's happening now, right? Now, this sounds very pro-Jesus, this conclusion of this episode, and it is. It has that feeling. But they are also trying to bring Jesus down a little bit while they're lifting him up. They're saying he's not the Son, but they're putting an hour of TV for you to think son and son, son and son, 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 son. They really are trying to blur the two together while they're also highlighting that son isn't son, but son is son, son is son, son is son. And that's kind of a trick that you'll do, because what they're really trying to talk you into, or at least lay the seeds for, is I was reading my notes, but I don't think it makes any sense. So anyway, that's kind of the conclusion of tonight's episode. Oh, and I forgot to check. Bear with me. I'm going to check first, see if any of my intermission videos are related to this at all. No. Is there a train outside? There's an airplane flying awfully close overhead. Bear with me. I just got to check. This is dead air, but... Oh, this is perfect. This will be a perfect show ender. I'll play the regular outro after this, but this is hilarious. This has to be played on a night where you talk about Star Wars, Star Trek. What did I just do? Here, check this out. So that was Bread and Circuses. I don't know what the point was. Just to think. This will get me... You know what I'm going to do? I'll shut down the YouTube and Facebook, and then I'll go right into this replay. Bear with me, while I say bye-bye Facebook.